वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुं श्रीकृष्णो वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् ॐ Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Pranams from Dr. R.J. Kalpana. Welcome to the study of the Bhagavad Gita. In this session, we will commence our study of chapter 16, DaivAsuraSampadVibhagaYoga. The yoga of the different attributes between Devas and Asuras. This chapter is all about discriminating between the qualities that is necessary for one who walks on the path of spirituality. Just as in the earlier chapter, in chapter 14, we looked at the gunas, the various types of gunas, and the predominant guna that is required for us to pursue a spiritual evolution. Similarly, here too Bhagavan Krishna addresses various types of qualities, one which will help us in our spiritual evolution and one which will only lead to further samskaras, bondage and devolution. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Shodashodhyayaha DaivAsuraSampadVibhagaYoga. The yoga of discrimination between the Devas and the divine and the Asuras, the not so divine attributes. Shloka 1. Sri Bhagavan said, absolute fearlessness, perfect purity of mind, constant fixity in the yoga of meditation for the sake of self-realization, and even so charity in its sattvika form, control of the senses, worship of God and other deities, as well as of one's elders, including the performance of Agnihotra, pouring oblations into the sacred fire, and other sacred duties, study and teaching of the Vedas and other sacred books, as well as the chanting of God's names and praises, suffering hardships for the discharge of one's sacred obligations, and straightness of mind as well as of the body and the senses. Here, let us note two aspects. One is DaivAsuraSampadVibhagaYoga. Let us consider the title first of all. The general translation that has been undertaken in English is that this is the classification between divine and demonical attributes. Now, I personally am not in favor of that definition. We have to understand the Sanskrit language, the philosophy behind it, its purport. Never, never in the Sanskrit language has there been a word for a negative. The opposite is always attributed with the positive. For example, the opposite of dharma is adharma. The opposite of sur is asur. The opposite of sat is asat. Meaning that which is divine, that which is not divine, that which is dharma, and that which is not dharma, that which is truth, and that which is not truth. There is such exquisite elegance of thought, etiquette in manners, in such polished, cultured language, that we too, in our translation of Sanskrit in the English language, must adhere to the principles of such etiquette. And therefore, let us consider this chapter in the light of which it is intended to be received. That qualities which are divine and those qualities which are not divine. So in the first shloka, the very first word in Sanskrit reads Abhayam, meaning fearlessness. So in the Heartfulness Spiritual Anatomy, the point 4, the water point, which represents fear, must be completely detoxed, must be purified to such an extent that one is fearless. Now let us understand the meaning of fearlessness. Fearlessness doesn't mean to do anything that one so desires without any thought to consequences, with all the arrogance and ego at our disposal. On the contrary, fearlessness is to be unconcerned. The child is totally unconcerned about its next meal. It is supremely confident that the mother will take care of it. Similarly, there will come a stage in one's spiritual evolution where this condition will organically unfold within us. And this happens when we are at the doorstep of the divine and we begin to appreciate, to sense, to perceive the presence of the divine. And no more and no longer are we afraid. And that is why India, that is Bharat, is replete with examples of enlightened souls walking away from opulent wealth, walking away from relationships, from attachments. And that is why in India they only accept food for one meal. They do not even accept food for the remaining of the day, for the night, for the next day, because then it becomes attachment too. So Krishna here talks about fearlessness to walk on this path. Swami Vivekananda, in his Parliament of Religion speech, speaks about how he wants lions and not sheep on the spiritual path, to be fearless and complete command of oneself, perfect purity of mind. In spiritual anatomy of heartfulness meditation, after we cross the 12th chakra, we come to Satyapad, the gate of truth. Only the purest of the pure can cross that gate. Not because nature doesn't want you to cross, not because the divine doesn't want you to cross, but because it is a point of no return. So we must be absolutely sure that when we step across that gate and we walk in the central region towards the center, towards the divine, that we are worthy of being admitted in the presence of the divine. We are as pure as when we first left the center to begin our journey in the human dimension. Constant fixity in the yoga of meditation for the sake of self-realization. Here Krishna gives great importance to dhyana yoga. Charity in Sattvika tradition, discipline the senses, worship your elders, perform your duties, and constantly read and study the sacred literature. And suffer hardships while discharging your duties, because in that suffering the law of sacrifice comes into play, and thereby the bhog of those samskaras will all get finished. Shloka 2. Non-violence in thought, word and deed, truthfulness and geniality of speech, absence of anger even on provocation, disclaiming doership in respect of actions, quietude or composure of mind, abstaining from malicious gossip, compassion towards all creatures, absence of attachment to the objects of senses, even during their contact with the senses, mildness, sense of shame in transgressing against the scriptures or usage, and abstaining from frivolous pursuits. So here Krishna talks about how it is important to maintain purity in thought, word and deed. In heartfulness meditation, we have Lalaji's principles of conversation, how the tone must be even and how the pitch must be smooth and soft, and how there must be gentleness in that speech and truth, that neither does it disturb our mind nor does it cause any disturbance in the mind of the listeners. And what are the rules? What are the types of conversations to avoid? Gossip, focus on objects of senses and discussion on frivolous pursuits. All of these factors must be avoided, and therefore have compassion towards all creatures. Always remain in moderation and do not transgress against the scriptures. Shloka 3. Sublimity, forbearance, fortitude, external purity, bearing enmity to none, and absence of self-esteem. These are the marks of him who is born with divine gifts, Arjuna. Sublime thoughts, says Krishna. Our thoughts must be of sublime order. Fortitude, to endure pain and pleasure. Purity, internal and external, and complete absence of ego, or rather sublimation of ego to the divine. And so these are some of the qualities that mark the divine gifts. And here I would like to draw attention to heartfulness meditation practitioners. The night 9 o'clock bedtime prayer meditation, or the universal prayer meditation that we do. We also do point A meditation for the sisters. And there we pray, let all the divine gifts be available to us. What are these divine gifts? These are the divine gifts that Krishna talks about. Sublimity, forbearance, fortitude, external purity, bearing enmity to none, and absence of self-esteem. Shloka 4. So now, after looking at all the divine traits, the divine qualities, Sri Bhagavan explains the not so divine qualities. After all, one cannot prove a line is straight unless we draw a line that is crooked. Shloka 4. Hypocrisy, arrogance and pride and anger, sternness and ignorance too, these are the marks of him who is born with not so divine qualities. So, well, they are self-explanatory here. To be a hypocrite, to have arrogance and pride in speech and manners, to be subject to anger and sternness and ignorance too. These are not so divine qualities. Shloka 5. The divine gift has been recognized as conducive to liberation, and the not so divine gift is conducive to bondage. Grieve not, Arjuna, for you are born with divine endowment. Krishna here very charmingly talks about the divine qualities which are necessary for a person to attain liberation by realizing the true nature of the self, and also points out the not so divine qualities that leads one towards bondage and samskaras. And very charmingly, Krishna addresses Arjuna as Pandava. That is so clever of Krishna, because here Krishna is reminding Arjuna that he is not human born. He is descended from a celestial. Kunti, when she was very young, was gifted with a mantra because she unselfishly served a sage who was visiting her father's palace. And pleased with her service, the sage gifted her with a secret mantra, chanting which she could call any celestial to her. Being young and innocent and curious, she wanted to experiment, and so she chanted the mantra and called the sun god. Surya Devata appeared before her and gave her Karna. Horrified at what she had done, because she was still a virgin and she was not married, she didn't know how to handle and how to explain the birth of Karna to the world. And so she allowed Karna to float away in the river. So similarly, when she got married to one of the kings of Hastinapur, Pandu, who was again in a curse, and in addition to the curse, he was also very weak health, and therefore Kunti was once again forced to use the mantra to get children, and so she called upon Indra, and out of that union came Arjuna. And therefore here Krishna is reminding Arjuna that you are already born of divine endowment. Shloka 6. There are only two types of men in this world, Arjuna. The one possessing a divine nature and the other possessing a demoniac disposition. Of these, the type possessing a divine nature has been dealt with at length. Now hear in detail from me about the type possessing the not so divine dispositions. So here people are broadly classified into those who have divine qualities and those who do not have divine qualities. So Sri Bhagavan says that I have already spoken about all those divine qualities in the first 3 shlokas. So now let us hear about the ones who do not possess the divine qualities. Shloka 7. Men possessing Asura disposition, the not so divine disposition, know not what is right activity and what is right abstinence from activity. Hence they possess neither purity nor good conduct nor even truthfulness. So here he says that people who are subject to not so divine qualities, they are unable to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. And therefore they are not able to do the right thing. So they don't possess purity, they don't possess good conduct, and they're not even truthful. Shloka 8. Men possessing a demoniac disposition say this world is without any foundation, absolutely unreal and godless, brought forth by mutual union of the male and female, and hence conceived in lust. What else than this? So people who are not so divine, because they are bound to the laws of nature, Prakriti, the field of matter, they only understand the 5 elements, they only understand how the laws of nature work, and therefore they understand that there is no divine, there is no God, there is no soul, and therefore the entire being, the entire world came into existence purely driven out of lust between man and woman, because they are unable to conceive of any other reason for the existence of this world. Shloka 9. Clinging to this false view, these slow-witted men of a wild disposition and terrible deeds, these enemies of mankind, prove equal only to the destruction of the universe. And so here Krishna says that the nature and behavior of such people who do not possess divine qualities are like lost souls. They have a false understanding. And whatever little they understand has no basis in reality, because it belongs to the world of Maya, of illusion, and only leads to destruction. And therefore, such people commit terrible deeds because the disposition is so not divine. They are enemies of humankind, and they only contribute to the destruction of the universe. Shloka 10. Cherishing insatiable desires and embracing false doctrines through ignorance, these men of impure conduct move in this world full of hypocrisy, pride and arrogance. This shloka describes the deeds of such people who are filled with never-ending desires. And because of their ignorance, they adopt, subscribe to false doctrines that we can see right now prevalent in this world. Look at every bit of war that is happening in this world, every conflict. There is no basis in truth. And such men have evil ideas because they are delusional. There is no right and wrong anymore. It is all ego-driven. Om Yogesho Satchidanandam Vasudevam Rajapriyam Dharma Samstapakam Veeram Krishno Vande Jagat Gurum Shri Krishno Vande Jagat Gurum. Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu.